I left Australia at 21 years old with no tax strategy, no foreign business structure, and no plan beyond getting on a plane and figuring it out. I spent the next 18 months across places like Thailand, Bali, Malaysia, Dubai, and eventually Batumi, Georgia. Now, after Georgia, I discovered something about tax and money that nobody had ever told me before. So in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what I found, what it cost me not knowing it earlier, and what it looks like from my position now at 23 years old in Batumi, Georgia. So I'm Australian, I'm 23 years old now. I run a website development agency. I also own property here in Batumi. I've been paying Georgia's 1% tax for a while now, and I'm about to head back to Bangkok, Thailand for a fight camp. And while I'm there, my 1% tax, my business structure, and everything is going to continue running. So now in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I ended up getting here and how I got everything structured in this way with the things that nobody ever told me when I was leaving the Australian tax system and leaving Australia at 21. Okay, now before we go into that, guys, I wanted to let you know that I've just launched a free school community for those of you who are seriously considering Georgia. You want to build a connection here, build a network, ask some questions, get some answers. And there's also a Georgia Setup Fundamentals course in there. So there's going to be a community feature where you can meet up, grab coffee with people in Tbilisi, Batumi, Kutaisi. There's also a full breakdown on how to get everything set up, your banking, your IE, your SBS in detail on some lessons that I've put in there. So check that out. It's the first link in the description. It's completely free to join. And I hope that it will help many of you to build some great connections before you even get here. Now, I want to be honest firstly about why I actually left Australia, because it was nothing to do with tax strategy, tax planning. I didn't even know anything about foreign business structures and the way that that could look yet at that point. What I knew was that I was looking at the lifestyle in Australia. I had done a few trips overseas. As I got a little bit older, I was making decent money online. I had my business, which I've been building since I was 15, which is my website development agency. And I knew that I could live remotely, but it wasn't something I truly considered until I actually visited Bangkok for the first time, done some Muay Thai there, got into it, and really loved the city. Now, I decided to pack my bags, sell my things, and get over there ASAP because I loved it so much, but I hadn't yet really understood what I was getting myself into. So it's not at that point that anything was necessarily wrong with Australia. I was just looking at the path that Australia was going, the way that I was living there, the cost of living. I hadn't really figured out, like I said, anything about the tax system and what I was planning to do. I was just paying my taxes in Australia. It kind of felt like a trap that I hadn't chosen. Like I was just stuck there, paying this high cost of living, paying this tax. And I knew there was something better out there. But the real reason why I was going was actually just because of how much I loved Thailand at the time. So I packed my things and went straight back over to Bangkok and settled in there. Now, once I got to Bangkok, I settled in and started to live the real digital nomad life, started meeting people, going out, having fun. I was finally getting a taste of what it was like to live for like less than 1,500 bucks a month. I did all the standard tourist route, went to Bangkok. I spent a little bit of time in Vietnam. Next, I went over to Bali until, as some of you may have known if you were watching the channel at that time, this guy broke into my villa in Bali and the police kindly asked me to leave because of the injuries he sustained. Next, I was off to Dubai and I just traveled around. I also came over to Georgia by chance. As I said in a recent video, I spun the Google Maps and my mouse landed on Georgia. So I came to Georgia. I was traveling around. I was loving it. I was enjoying it. But still at this point, I hadn't really considered the tax setup. And I didn't really do that until I was next planning to go back to Dubai. And when I spent some time living in Dubai is when I actually decided to take a look at my tax structure and figure out what was going to be the best option for me. Now, once I did that, I was naturally starting to plan to set up my taxes in Dubai. But along my planning and talks and working with foreign accountants, I eventually found out about the favorable tax conditions here in Georgia. And it's interesting because I'd already lived here in Georgia, but I hadn't set anything up. I didn't even know about the tax structure when I was first here, and I was in Dubai getting it set up there. And that is when everything shifted for me. This is when I found out the part that nobody told me while I was in Australia. Number one, that you are going to continue paying your taxes. If you don't already know this, even if you're living overseas, you are going to default as an Australian tax resident unless you exit the tax system cleanly. Now, with that, you're going to be paying progressive rates of up to 47% at the top bracket. So if you're paying 47% tax, which is only, tax only reaches that level in a handful of countries. But if you're paying your 47% tax to Australia for them to piss our money up the wall, then fine, you go for it. But at the end of the day, you take home just say $80,000 in Australia. For an example, you're going to be paying somewhere like $18,000 to $20,000 per year in tax. Now, if you're doing $80,000 in Georgia, you're going to be paying $800 per year. Now, you just need to be a tax resident here. You don't even need to be here year round. If you were a tax resident in Georgia, and you're doing $80,000, you're going to pay $800 compared to $20,000, which is, I mean, when I found this out, it was insane. And I found out the process of breaking off the Australian tax residency. I hadn't been living there. I truly shouldn't have been a tax resident anymore. And that is when I found out that you can actually switch and reset yourself up. It's not that hard. The structure doesn't need to be as complex as it's made out to be. And then that is when the ball kind of started rolling for me. Now, what genuinely made me angry at this time and kind of pissed me off when I found out about it is that I'd been paying taxes in Australia since young. I started working when I was 13. I started my business when I was 15, and I'd been paying taxes. I'd been making money. I'd bought food trucks, and I'd grown businesses and failed businesses, and I'd been in the Australian tax system paying, working with accountants, even other people in the financial sector. I was working with lawyers at one time, and nobody ever thought to mention to me, or I guess to anybody really, that you can, as an online business owner, exit that tax system. It's only, I guess, now starting to become popular online. But at the time, especially when I was 15, 16, 17, it was unheard of. And so being able to actually understand the way that works, and even teachers, no teacher ever mentioned this to me when I was younger. It's something they'll never mention in a school in Australia, is that you can just leave and set your taxes up anywhere else and save yourself. I mean, if you're doing, the example is 80,000, say you're doing $500,000 a year in, somewhere like Australia, you're probably going to be saving $230,000 to $240,000 per year just in taxes, depending on your expenses, the way everything's structured. But it's ridiculous. So the fact that nobody even had mentioned that, I'd never seen anybody do it, I didn't know of it, was annoying at first. So now that it's been a little while since I made that decision to leave, I've eventually learned these things, set up my structures, and now I'm 23, I'm currently in Batumi, and like I said, I'm about to head back to Bangkok. And so now that I made that decision to leave Australia, take that trip to Thailand, follow through the route and learn these things, figure it out for myself, that within those few years has now eventuated to me being registered here as a tax resident, setting up my business structures here. I own property here. I have an off-plan unit, which is about to be completed later this year. I'm paying my 1% tax. I'm about to go back to Bangkok for another fight camp. And I can then travel around. I can do whatever I want, travel wherever I want. My taxes continue to be paid here at 1% per month. I can go back to Bali. I can go back to Dubai. I can travel the world, enjoy the world. I can even visit back to Australia if I choose to. And I don't have to pay 47% tax or whatever the different brackets I would be in at the time. So look, that's just the bottom line, is that it wasn't immediate. Obviously it took some time. I had to exit the system. You do have to do it cleanly. The ATO is very strict and they will come crawling for their money if you don't do it right. But at the end of the day, if you take the time, learn the system, work with the right people and get it set up properly, you can go somewhere like Georgia. And it doesn't have to be Georgia. I've got friends that have set up in Paraguay, any places in South America, people who have set up even in other parts of Asia, the UAE, of course, and you can significantly reduce your tax burden. If you are young, you maybe don't have to haul a whole family around with you. You don't have a massive amount of responsibilities personally, and you're trying to grow your business and grow your structure online, then it is by far the biggest lever that you can pull. So like I said, I've gone from paying a ridiculous cost of living in Australia, being trapped there, paying a ridiculous amount of tax and trying to grow the businesses there, from now traveling around, owning property here, and being able to go and enjoy the countries that I love. Now, on top of that, when I think about it, if I had chosen to stay in Australia to now, and I had been paying my Australian taxes at that time, if I was still an Australian tax resident, still in Australia, and I had also been spending the Australian cost of living, I would have probably spent in total probably another $70,000 to $80,000 in that time since being registered here, having everything set up here, than what I would have spent if I was in Australia. So I mean, that's, cost of living, the additional taxes, everything set up. That's $70,000 to $80,000 in savings that I can now spend on my travels. So a saving of $70,000 to $80,000 is nothing to play with. That's going to cover your flights, your accommodation. You can continue to travel around the world and enjoy this lifestyle of freedom with that money alone, on top of the money that you're making, maybe money that you're investing in property here, like I've chosen to, or whatever that looks like for you. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that everybody should leave Australia, and not everybody can leave Australia. Maybe you have a brick and mortar business. Maybe you actually made it in the food truck business, which I failed to do, and you have food trucks. Maybe you have restaurants. Maybe you have stores, whatever that looks like for you. Obviously, not everybody can just up and leave. But what I'm saying is that a lot of online business owners have never actually been told that the cost of living and the taxes in Australia, it's not just a fixed cost of doing business. It is a choice. And especially if maybe you're younger, maybe you're more mobile, maybe you have less responsibilities, and you have the freedom to dip away, even if you plan to come back in your later years and just, build your empire. That's what I'm saying, and that's what nobody ever told me. So Georgia is just one option. It's not the only option. There's plenty of choices out there. If you are looking at Georgia, you're considering Georgia, you think it might be a good option for you, check the link in the description. I've put in my personalized guide. If you click that, you fill out a handful of questions. It'll fully customize the answers for you and build you a 12-chapter guide on how you can migrate from whichever country you're coming to Georgia, and that's fully built out by me, the entire database I've built, and it will use your answers to pick out the right pieces for you. So give that a go. I think that will be very helpful for many of you. But again, I'm not saying everybody needs to up and leave Australia. I am saying that the costs are not a fixed cost of business. Now, as always, guys, I appreciate you watching through the video, and I hope it has been helpful. I hope this can motivate some of you guys to look at your situation, look at the options around you in terms of your taxes, your costs, and what you are spending. Now, like I said, I'll be back in Thailand soon, so you guys will see some stuff from there. Like I said, I'm going for a fight camp, but I will be here for a few more weeks, so still a few more videos to come. I appreciate you guys watching the video. I look forward to reading your comments, any questions you might have, and anything you think I may have missed, and I will look forward to seeing you guys in the next video.